Okay, so we're re-recording. So as I was saying, I'm Cyrus Kirkpatrick, afterlife researcher and author, but also recently a medium, channeler, telepath, clair, all of it. Now, as just to continue where I left off, I spent a lot of time researching these things and not understanding how it really worked. So when it all began to click for me, there's a lot of things I discovered about it, which turned out to be different than I originally had in mind. Like, for example, going into a trance to be able to automatically write or to be able to communicate as whoever is you're synchronizing your brainwaves with is actually pretty simple. You kind of just have to let go and just speak as whoever it is, but you'll know immediately that it is a completely external communication, because if I am not speaking as whoever it is, I can actually have a direct two-way communication basically. So I could literally be communicating like, hello, how's your day? My day is going fine. How is your day? It almost feels like we're on a Zoom conference if I begin a direct sync with somebody. And this includes the spirit world, but this also includes what we call higher density realities, which is the cosmos at large. And these concepts are very interlinked in the sense that, our spirit guides could be, from the spirit reality, but it could also be from the higher cosmos, which is also, it's almost like a frequency that is less identifiable to us. Uh, for example, you could be in communication with an extraterrestrial group, but they're still on a level, they're on a frequency that's up here. So we don't always have immediate physical access to them. So they often work as our spirit guides. And this includes Arcturans. This includes a lot of different groups that act as our guides on our lives here, trying to keep us out of trouble, trying to guide us toward wisdom, and ultimately trying to shift the planet, because the planet really badly needs help. So what? Excuse me. I keep clearing my throat. I don't know if I'm catching a cold or something, but um, so do you guys hear a lot of background noise, or is it like, because there's guests over and it's being kind of loud. Shayla, do you hear a lot of background noise?
Not a lot, to hear little.
You hear a little bit of people. Okay.
Not enough to worry about.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I never know. I'm experimenting with new audio, so I have my microphone like clipped to my hair right now, because that's like the only place I'm getting clear audio. But anyway, as I was saying, so when you're doing this kind of work, when you get really good at clairaudience and telepathic syncing, it kind of becomes like this two-way communication basically, and your brain actually translates it. So if I were communicating to somebody who can only speak Spanish, then I would hear English, because it's actually coming through into your own brain waves. Your brain is translating all that communication. So it allows, and on a cosmic level, it allows instantaneous, shall we say, translation, as well as nonverbal communication. So if someone is sending you nonverbal communication, ideas and concepts, it'll actually come through in your mind as English in a sense. So you'll still hear it as English. So I think that's that's very interesting as well. So all that said, that whole process is also much easier than I thought, because it involves what we call a subconscious prompting technique. And that subconscious prompting technique is it's a simple matter of you you make a visualization in your mind. For example, I might use a book, right? So I don't have a book here nearby to illustrate, but I might be able to like imagine a book in my mind and write in the book, like begin communications with an Arcturan guide. And I can visualize the book in my mind, and then I can push it into my mind like this. And then I absorb that, because I'm sending a prompt into the collective consciousness that I want to communicate to an Arcturan. So I do that and I wait, and then I will feel a presence come over me. And I'll feel this presence come over me. And you're now actually sharing and entangling your thoughts with whoever it is you're making that connection with. So when that happens, you're actually sharing emotions, you're sharing frequency and thoughts. So if the one I'm communicating with is crying, I'll cry. If they're laughing, I'll laugh. It's like this very intimate way of communicating, because we're just sharing our thoughts with each other, but it also is in a direct, clear, like two-way English method of communication. So when you begin doing that, you can literally take dictation, which is different to me than automatic writing, because I can just listen to what they're saying and I can just type it. I can just like, okay, dear Cyrus, my name is Kilamaja and I'm Arcturan. And sorry, I'm gonna pop up. My name is Kilamaja, I'm Arcturan, and I want to speak a message for everybody today who is listening. I can just be typing and listening to what they're saying, right? Now, this is different if I am channeling. To channel, I need to actually speak as as my visitor. I'm sorry, I'm still congested. So sorry about that. I need to speak as the person I'm communicating with. So to do that, I actually have to enter into a deeper state of called brainwave syncing. And to do this, I actually put a command into my subconscious prompt. It's like begin close brainwave syncing, and I'll put it into my mind like this. And I'll actually feel myself. I'll feel the communication change to where I can begin just speaking, almost like they are inhabiting your body more, you know. And I can begin speaking as whoever I am connected to. And of course, this in essence is how shamans do it. This is in essence how channelers do it. But using like the subconscious prompting, it's almost like you're incorporating what feels like computer technology. You know, it's like it's like you're entering a command basically. It's like enter command, enter command. And this is actually stuff everybody can do. So anyone can take some time out in a quiet space, and you can begin communication with my spirit team. You can also use this to communicate to deceased loved ones. And so for this, if I want to communicate to my deceased parents, it's that simple for me as well. All I have to do is use a subconscious prompt to begin communications to my mother. Boom, and I can see what my mother is doing, who lives on a higher density, which is the terminology for a higher universe. So an invisible universe to us, but a higher cosmos where so many of our deceased loved ones actually migrate their souls into. So with that said, I can actually do a demonstration, show, you know, whether it's automatic writing, I could put something in the chat, or I could also channel and speak as a guest. So I'm actually going to ask you, Shayla, if there's like a preference, or if there's anything in that direction, if people want to learn more about how to do it or anything like that. So Shayla, what do you think?
Well, just let's ask everybody. Speak up, people. What do you want to hear about?
Because I can begin channeling somebody from my team. And that might be very interesting because you'll see me you'll see my presence change a little bit, and I'll begin speaking as whoever the visitor is. And but the funny thing is we can actually pick like who you guys want to talk to, because I'll have a little smorgasbord of different possibilities. And I could always elect you, Shayla, like, okay, I'm as representative of the rest of the group, I want Cyrus to communicate as. So, but let's see if anyone has any feedback.
Does anyone have anything they want to say before Cyrus goes on?
Whatever you feel moved to do would be fascinating, honestly.
Let's see.
Okay. I agree with that.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. So then, Shayla, I'm just going to elect you as their governing body, and what I can do is I can mention like some of the groups I communicate to, and then it can be a Q&A as well. And then further, people want to learn also more about how to do this process. You can also write to me at, well, my new address, my new YouTube channel is actually The Great Cosmic Shift with Cyrus Kirkpatrick. And my email is cosmicshiftawakening@gmail.com. And then I just people are trying to get involved and learn how to communicate. I spend a lot of time like helping people. But anyway, with that said, I can definitely begin like a communication. So Shayla, off the top of your head, what do you think? Because I could actually communicate with my Arcturan team. The Arcturans it's an extraterrestrial. Not everybody believes that extraterrestrials exist, but they really, really exist. And Arcturans are often spirit guides for people all over the world, because they are always they're almost like curators of humanity. They're like our closest neighbor. They're little people with blue skin and almond eyes, and kind of like the depictions that people see. But they have a great sense of humor, and they're quite nice. I communicate with a group known as the Aldebarans. Now, we know the Aldebaran star, and these guys are actually an ancient part of our history. And they were colonists around a Turkish settlement called Göbekli Tepe, and around 8000 BC. And so they really seeded their culture into our culture. So I've learned a lot by communicating with them. Then there's also the nature spirit area. So I communicate with what we could think of as like a fairy, an actual like forest nature spirit named Shantasari. And then the interesting thing about Shantasari is she has been in communication with people from my community quite a bit, actually healing like a friend of mine who had a few nasty sicknesses. She physically manifested before a friend of mine and her friend in her home. So this woman actually appeared in her home, and it was actually Shantasari. This is after people began communicating with her. So there's all these crazy supernatural experiences that are happening. I can communicate with her as well as other nature spirits. There's a woman named Coraline, who we could think of as a whale spirit. So she's literally a spirit embodying like a collective consciousness of sperm whales. So these are examples of some of the communicators that I work with. So Shayla, off the top of your head, does anything ring a bell with you? Because I could actually speak as any of them.
Well, a couple of months ago, we had someone who talked to us about fairies and woodland sprite sorts of things. So why don't we start at the beginning with Arcturan?
Oh, I can definitely contact Arcturans. So let me think. I'll probably speak to them as a Kilamaja. So Kilamaja is a guide. I first was aware of Kilamaja when I was 11 years old because we saw a giant, it almost looked like a pyramid-shaped kind of craft like this that hovered in from orbit, and it was brilliant golden color, right? And it went up from orbit, and our whole neighborhood saw it, and it went down behind a mountain. And so I spent my life like wondering, like, who was that? Until when I began mentally thinking, I was in contact with Kilamaja. Kilamaja is an Arcturan. He is 500,000 years old. And he explained that that was actually his ship, and it was Arcturans on that ship. So I can definitely contact Kilamaja. And then I think the best thing to do is after I speak as Kilamaja, then I can do a kind of Q&A as well. So I'll go ahead and do that. And so to do it, because I know people here also I know you said a discussion group about automatic writing and channeling. You can kind of see, like, once I begin the process of mental syncing, what I did, I just did there a minute ago. All I had to do was put an intention in my mind like this. I said, begin communications with Kilamaja. And I kind of winked my eye a little bit like that. And I can tell immediately that I'm connected to him because I can immediately feel a presence around me that's him. And then if I keep my mind silent for a minute, I can actually communicate. So hold on, give me a second. Okay, so now I can hear him, but my mind isn't completely still. I need to actually connect my brainwave. To be able to channel, I need to connect my brainwaves like this. As I can hear him right now in a two-way voice, I could actually type as him right now. But typing is different than channeling. In channeling, I need to be like totally like connected. So hold on a second. Okay. Okay, good. So I sent a subconscious prompt into my mind that says begin close brainwave syncing. And now I can automatically feel that my communication with Kilamaja is just like really like embedded itself. So if I want to speak as him, I can now speak as him. So hold on. Just give me a second here. You ready? And all right. So I am now connected on a brainwave level to Cyrus. Do you see what I did just there? See, this is no longer Cyrus talking. It is actually Kilamaja speaking as Cyrus, which is a fun thing to do because the shamans of your culture would call this possession. Although Cyrus is still conscious of himself as Cyrus, while he is doing this, it is kind of as if I am using Cyrus's body and vocal cords to communicate. and you may notice a change in intonation as I am speaking as Cyrus through Cyrus. But among Arcturans, this is a very normal way of doing things. We use this to prank each other all the time. If we want to jump into someone else's mind to play jokes on them, and this is called Arcturan humor. Maybe it's not humor of your people just yet, but it is a pleasure to be here, Shayla. Again, this is Kilamaja of a civilization around the Arcturus star. And as Cyrus spoke of, we are little blue people. And we have a very interesting language that sounds high pitch. I would have a demonstration, but that is embarrassing for poor Cyrus. So there may be a few questions on people's minds, because I am aware this is a community that interests itself in contact with the deceased of your world. And I am also aware that this is a community that may have misgivings about the concept of extraterrestrial life. And I can, because I am Kilamaja, I can be in the minds of everybody here. And some may sense my presence around you. And so that I can sense and feel these thoughts. And there are some in this audience who are thinking, boy, what a load of rubbish this is. There are no such thing as little blue people. Well, you are in for a big surprise in life, as funny things will continue to happen and manifest on your world. So with that said, since I do sense misgivings in this audience, I would ask if anyone has any questions for me, but also in reference to communicating with the deceased, because as young Cyrus said, well, we are curators and we are in the lives of many here, even people in this audience who have Arcturan guides. Our population is large. We are about 1.3 trillion of us. So there are enough Arcturans to go around for all the people of Earth to have an Arcturan friend that we can work with. So with that said, is there anyone here who wants to first ask me something? I will let Shayla moderate it, and if there is a hand waving or something along that somebody wants to ask me, or also ask Cyrus as well, because we can switch between who is speaking. I will take it to you, Shayla.
Giles had his hand up first, and then we have two others at least.
Two questions, one question. The first one is background, which you may have already covered, Mr. Cyrus. And the background is this: I am given to understand by a number of different automatic writers that there are hundreds of thousands of alien civilizations in this galaxy alone, and that most of them are much nicer than the civilization we have on the planet Earth. They are lighter, some of them, and they are heavier, some of them. But in general, their civilizations are civilized, unlike on this planet. Is that true?
Would you like to, this is now Cyrus, do you want me to answer, or would you like my communicator to answer?
Whichever has the most knowledge on the subject.
Well, I think, what I can say as Cyrus before I begin communicating or speaking as Kilamaja is yes to everything you just said. That's the best way to put it. But let me now communicate to Kilamaja. All right. Wow, what a great comment, because that is the essence. I'm very sorry to say this to dear humans listening, but your world is mired by a great collective psychopathic tendency, which, for example, wishes to destroy anything which your world calls supernatural or extraordinary. And they wish to ruin this for people who are experiencing these things. What I'm showing Cyrus is in fact provable, because I can gather information not known to Cyrus, for example, but it doesn't always work as people wish it, because someone may ask, what is the name of my dog, Toto? And I will say the name of Toto is Fido. That is because there are natural there are natural blocks to this communication, or else governments upon your world, because this is the nature of your world, always trying to get ahead, would use this power to gain intelligence, upon enemies. So would we wish for Vladimir Putin to have this power to gain intelligence upon his Ukrainian opponents? This would be very, very bad. So there are natural blocks, which then make skeptics believe, well, none of it is true. And yet it all is true, because, for example, I can find specifics if this were a private session with somebody, but here it is, it is not a good point for that, about someone's life, and it's very testable. I mention all this because your world is so extremely stubborn. I come from a universe which is, in a sense, not your universe, but it is your universe because it is a higher density universe. And my universe has had its problems over the aeons. My civilization is 9 billion years old, and our civilization is led by a man that, for his gender, is male. You may call him, because it sounds a bit silly, right, Lord Arcturus. He alone is 10 billion years old. We evolved from what you could think of as a cetacean, a dolphin species. What I can tell you is that our universe has had many issues of great, great empires, notwithstanding the Ashtari, who visited your world in 1977 as the preeminent rulers from the Andromedan galaxy, or I should say the Andromeda galaxy. And there is so much happening in the higher cosmos that the people of Earth would not believe or do not understand. And it's a great, great tragedy, in fact. I do not understand why the people of your world are so opposed to these things, or else we could be there with you right now, but we cannot, because their collective consciousness, to respond to the Inquirer, is so bad on your world because of the people who doubt and the people who hate that which they do not understand and are constantly in their own criminal ways of thinking, that it would be impossible for us to simply appear normally like we do in our universe. What does it say about your world? Many, many sad things, because a human civilization, for your civilization, were colonized by our universe, by the Ashtari, by the Aldebaran people. But such a colony world is not supposed to be in a state of so much collectivized anger and ignorance. Your world of Gaia, as it is known by some, is not a normal world. Those born on your world have immense power, even if they do not realize it. Think about the immense force of personalities of some great evil dictator like a Chairman Mao, who we spent much work to try to wrest Chairman Mao from his position of evil power back in the 1950s, to be precise. I know this because I had some influence upon that as well, but great, difficult, and great, terrible things that have happened on your world. And yet you see those born on your world have such immense power that your world attracts souls like that, who desire that power, who desire being born upon a planet where they're infused with unbelievable magical psychic power. Because when you are born upon a planet, you absorb its energy. And so that's why so many terrifying souls come to the world of Gaia, whose ancient name is Raiden. So many souls wish to be born upon ancient Gaia because of those reasons. And that is why we are curators of your world, because we try to monitor what souls enter babies of your world, but it is so difficult because so many evil souls sneak their way into your world. So be great and be greatly mindful of even who you are. What is your intention upon the earth? Because many come to the earth to gain that power because they wish to be a great ruler, or they wish to transcend the earth and become a great king or queen of another civilization. Sometimes these motivations have great significance in a positive way, but sometimes souls come from your world and die and migrate and manifest into our universe for the purpose of becoming a great dictator. So that is how Vladimir Putin may arise in your world and make his way up into our universe to become a great and terrifying dictator. You see, this is what we Arcturans fear so much. I know I'm rambling on and on, but it was a great statement. It is true, unfortunately. It is sad, but what you state is true. I will open the floor again to Shayla, but thank you very much.
Who else had their hand up?
I did have one more question, which is a little more, a little easier. You said,
Well, wait, Giles, let me take one of the others and then you can come back to you because you had one. Okay, is that all right? All right. So I think Pamela Asbury Smith was next, and then Aileen.
My question for you, Giles, is,
You mean Cyrus?
excuse me, Cyrus, I beg your pardon. What do those people want with us? Why are they attracted to us? What is it about us that appeals to them?
Are you asking, this is now Cyrus communicating, you want to ask me or do you want to ask Akila Maja?
Akila Maja.
Okay.
Or you, whoever can answer that.
And to respond, what Giles wrote down, who is them, I'm also wondering, what attracts who? Extraterrestrial civilizations?
Yes.
Okay, what attracts?
What attracts those that we can't see, that we can't reach out and touch? What attracts them to the human beings on Earth?
Okay, let me contact Kilamaja. Okay, hello Kilamaja. Hello Cyrus. Okay, yes. So this is again Kilamaja speaking through Cyrus. And hopefully it is clear the difference now, because those in this workshop, if you wish to call it, that began, Afterlife Research Conference, I remember looking through my son Cyrus's eyes during that event. As I was saying, everyone here can also learn this ability, and it is not as difficult as you may think. So for those doubting this who are watching right now, you can also do this yourself by following those directions and experimenting. But it takes bravery and also a sense of surrender to do this, because you are allowing your mind to be manifest and shared with somebody else. But it is a switch that you can flip like this. And when it happens, it is unmistakable on a physiological level because you can sense it. As I was saying, many different groups come to the world of Gaia. The world of Gaia is a low density Earth. So that is why you are separated from not only the great spirit reality, but the higher cosmos, higher density reality. It is a world that is in complete separation because of the nature of the elements of how your Earth was put into place. Your Earth is not a normal planet, but it was actually, the word would be manifested. So it would appear to be so-and-so, perhaps 9 billion years old, but in fact, your Earth is older than that. It has in fact been kept in a state of kind of a prism in time, and your Earth manifests at different points in a grand cosmological scale of history. Now, this is a very strange thing for me to say, is that it is the nature of divine power, because some here do not of a proclivity to divine power either, but the ruler of our civilization manifested upon your world in the state of Texas. And his name, was a pastor named Michael Stephen Beckwith, and he lived in a town about 2 hours from Houston, Texas. And he lived his life as a church pastor and is a Christian and is still a Christian man, we should understand, although he would look unrecognizable because of how he looks as an Arcturan. What I can say then to you is that there is a great divinity that is overseeing all of these higher universes. Now, that divinity is overseen by what we call the angels or the archangels. And this indeed includes that angel which was a guide and mentor for many from what we call David of your Holy Bible, as well as Jesus Christ as he is known, but also the Prophet Muhammad, and his name is the Archangel Gabriel. And we Arcturans have no issue with these concepts, while some of our neighbors, like our Pleiadian friends, do, because they do not believe that there is a supernatural divinity. But there is. Now we again see the pathological ignorance that spreads even in our higher universe. So the archangels are ruled, that is to say, by what is known as the paintbrush of God. And this is a singular archangel who commands, shall we say, the great presiding cosmos, and rules what is known as the archangelic order. And the age of the archangelic order, that is to say, those ancient angels, is an age that is incomprehensible for most people to even understand, but it deals with the inception of physical reality itself. And that age is 455 septillion years. That is the age of the ancient angels themselves. There is a singular angel who oversees all of the cosmos and all of physical creation, all of it. And her name is actually known to your people because her name is Akiane Krameric. And you can find her actually by using your Google and entering in her name, and you will immediately see that this is no ordinary woman. She manifested on your world specifically to fight the great evils of your world. But her true origin, her true home, is of course a place, a world of great wonder, a reality of great wonder known as Rendrelos. Now, you see, your world was actually crafted by the Archangel Akiane herself as a world where those born have immense and wondrous power as a way to maintain stability and sustainability in all of creation. So because of that, your world became of great, great, great importance in the cosmos, for it is known as Akiane's world. And those who arrive to your world, you see, have that great power. What you would call, by that funny word, extraterrestrial, is actually, shall we say, so many different groups from beyond. And I don't just mean our universe, I mean other universes and other realities that come to your world either to gain a piece of its power or to protect your world from those who wish to harvest and exploit your power for negative reasons, which can be seen directly by looking at the evil tyrants of your world. So for that reason, there are many, 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 as far as we can say, as many as 9 to 10% of your entire world are people from the greater cosmos hiding and pretending that they are not pretending they're someone who they are not. And they're in fact people from our universe or many other realities who work upon the world in secret, in great secret, or else the collective consciousness would never allow them to exist upon your world. And that is why there are so many upon Akiane's world, because you see, they are trying very hard to keep your world safe and protected and to allow the shift to happen. So there's many, many, many reasons why your world, as dismal as your world seems, nonetheless gets so much attention, because the world of Gaia, or Raidin as it was once known, is not an ordinary world. Your world is of extreme, extreme significance. That is my most important answer. I understand it is already perhaps 15 or 20 minutes until we will have to finish, presuming it is an hour, Shayla. So I hope that answers, but there may be some follow-up words for that. So I'll bring it back to you, Shayla. Thank you for moderating this, and thank you, Cyrus, for allowing me to speak through your body.
Thank you. I think Aileen had a question or a comment. Go ahead, Aileen.
So mine's a fairly quick one. I do some channeling, and I was wondering if the Arcturian guide can tell me what species is the right word. That is that my main guide that comes through when I channel.
This is Cyrus talking again. So I'm trying to clarify what the question was. So you were asking, you wanted Kilamasha to address what again?
Yes, please. Yes.
I'm sorry, what were you wanting him to address? I didn't quite hear all that.
Oh, okay. So I do some channeling, and I'm just wondering what species is, I don't know if that's right, what the right word is the main guide that I channel. I wanted to know what realm is he from?
Okay, so one moment, I'll reach out to Kilamaj again. Okay, I am now speaking again through Cyrus, and it concerns your inquiry. Now, to answer this question, what I would need to do is almost in a consensual way go into your thoughts, find the guide to whom you speak to, and then research them. And then I would be able to come to a more definite conclusion to help your inquiry to understand who it is that you are communicating to. But before I do this, Aileen, I do have to ask, is the purpose of the question perhaps to verify my identity, or is the purpose of the question to help you to understand who you are communicating to?
To help me understand who I'm communicating with.
Yes, Kilamaja says very well. Okay, Kilamaja. Okay, I'm again speaking as Cyrus, through Cyrus. Very well, I will do that, and it takes some energy for me to do that. I must now place part of my consciousness around you. You may feel a presence around you because we also operate, as do all people, in that spirit reality as well. So you might sense me around you. And then I will see if I can find information about who you communicate to. Now, let me ask you this. When you communicate, are you in direct communication, like we are now? I am with Cyrus, my son Cyrus, where you can hear the voice of your communicator loud and crisp? Or is it a sensation, or are these dream experiences? What is the nature of your communication?
Similar to how you do it, Cyrus. So I'm aware of what he's saying, but it's difficult for me to ask questions because I think I block myself I think I get in my own way when I ask personal questions about him, the one I'm channeling. So I'd like to know what realm he's from.
Okay, Kilamaja says, okay, so there's some information I am now gathering about who you are communicating to. Let's see, interestingly enough, you're a communicator among other groups that have a common presence on your world, and your communicator is in fact Pleiadian. So you are communicating to a Pleiadian woman, actually, and her name is actually Sharvajidra. Sharvajindra. And this communicator acts as a guide, in essence, of you. But as you said before, I believe there is a subconscious block happening in the sense that your subconscious, in some sense does not, shall we say, agree with the phenomenon happening. Now, to help with Shayla's group, for people to understand more about this process, the subconscious mind will often block when someone is doing this communication if there is distrust or there is fear. Now, what I sense with you is there is an element of distrust, which is understandable given the oddity of these communications and who is it that we are communicating to. One should always be vigilant as, let us say, all the, shall we say, good, my friends from England and Australia tend to have this, what they call a stiff upper lip. And they tend to be very vigilant in these circumstances, but it's also possible to be over vigilant and overprotective, because if one can unlock one's heart, then it's possible to understand the nature. I sense no ill intent of the female Pleiadian that you are communicating to in what appears to be small bursts of communication, some of which is filled in by, let's say, your own psyche, that is connecting pieces of a mental syncing communication, where part of you is communicating to her, and then your imagination fills in the gap. And then there's another part and another part. And this is represented by your subconscious rejecting the experience due to an element of distrust and an element of fear associated with it on a subconscious level. So if you can remove those, you'll have a clearer communication with her. And I would ask of you to perhaps try that, as in to begin communications again with her and call her by her name and see if she can confirm it. And then to maybe relax a little bit about the nature of the communication, that it is actually quite safe. And so many people on Earth are beginning communications with those of us from the higher universe who wish so much to help the people of Earth. Now I see it is 6:18 p.m. So maybe a few more minutes, as I know maybe Shayla wants to wrap things up because of the hour that will be up soon. So
Okay.
if I may, Aileen, does any of this ring a bell for you?
Yes, I have a female one that speaks and also a male. So yeah, no, that's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we give Giles the last? He's jumping up and down. He's got something burning question. So
Rebecca also had her hand up. So.
yeah.
And this is Cyrus. I actually I have a meeting at 7:30, but I'm actually,
okay.
if people want staying longer, I can stay 6:45, anything like that. If people want to, yeah.
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
They're both easy.
Mhm.
One is you give very long ages of people. Now, 500,000 years, that's an awfully long time to live. You get very bored and very cynical when you live for 500,000 years, and it's very hard to remain balanced and sane. And that's what incarnation is for, reincarnation. So it's just a remark I'm making. And the second remark is that you've killed modern science, that is nuclear physics, with the enormous age you give. There can therefore be no Big Bang. And that's quite tough. Now, I'll have to sit on that because this is called cognitive dissonance. You give perfectly good reason for this, and so do the nuclear scientists. Now, the next and last statement is, I got a strong feeling some time ago, trying my pathetic attempts at automatic writing, that Putin will not succeed in what he's trying to do, which is restore the Russian Empire. Rather, the opposite, in fact.
I will talk as Kilamaja, and Kilamaja is bouncing up and down. Kilamaja, by the way, is about 3 feet tall, so he's, so it's easy for him to bounce up and down. Here we go, and connection. All right. Well, Giles, I really enjoy your comment because there's so many important messages that can come through. Then with Cyrus's permission, or also with Shayla's, we can continue this after class hours, if the 1 hour mark is the deadline. To, like Cyrus says, as I must be very considerate of Cyrus's schedule as well, as channeling me can take some energy out of young Cyrus. What I mean to say, firstly, concerns what you speak of how, let us say, astrophysics is upended by this age spectrum. Well, in fact, it is, in a sense, not. So I'm directing Cyrus real quick to find some information on the internet. One moment. As this would be a fun way to illustrate something I'm saying. Ah, yes. When did the Big Bang happen in years? 13.8 billion years ago. Well, in fact, this is the case. The Big Bang, as it occurred, did happen within my universe 13.8 billion years ago, and this was the summary of creation. Now, my age is 500,000 years, and the one I spoke of before, whose age is exceeding that, close to 10 billion years, is still within the spectrum of the grand occurrence of the creation of the cosmos. But what I will say is that what is known as the Big Bang, subsequently the great nihilism of the Big Crunch, your planet's ideas of astrophysics and so many things is so incomprehensibly limited that it is also the source of many Arcturan jokes. Because the Big Bang, as it is known, is, of course, the grand accumulation of all that would be the universe, all the matter and all of the energy and all of the chemical and nuclear reaction and all the power that will be every star, every sun. It is bundled together and processed like this, and indeed it springs forward. But as I say, this process also has an intelligence behind it, because we are in fact living in a multiverse, and there are universes far older than our universe. There are universes whose age spans into the trillions of years, and more than that, into the quadrillions, and much higher into the septillions. This is the age span of ancient universes within the multiverse. Again, you're unbelievably limited, and I would say certainly not you, but in speaking to the academic intelligentsia, as Cyrus calls it, is of an outstanding level of arrogance and ignorance, to a point it is again the source of Arcturan humor. What I will say then is also now concerning philosophy, which is your next statement, which is that my age of 512,000 years would cause a great kind of existential boredom that can be cured by reincarnation. Certainly it can. It can be cured in that sense, as Arcturans, sometimes we will reincarnate and memory wipe ourselves, in which case we are a new soul running around, as we like to do, literally running around people's feet, because we are annoying little Arcturans. But what I can tell you is that no such proclivity exists upon higher realities. This is the nature of your world and its extremely short time spans and extremely short lifespans. Those in higher universes do not feel the existential guilt. I know of a civilization in a distant cosmos known as the Pascalanians. And the Pascalanians, an average Pascalanian could be close to 1 trillion years. They look like your people, although again, we can joke because they look a bit like elves, not the Keebler elf kind. That looks more like us. But what I can say is that the people of such civilizations, why do they live? Because again, the answer is divinity and God. Because if you live in a state of great divine splendor, in great and wondrous health, and a great connection to God and the spirit world itself, so all of this is in unity and harmony, one does not see life as this endless drudgery, as one awaits their final departure from this world into a soul collective. No, in fact, life continues on and on and on and on, and there is no one who feels ill about that. It is again the nature of your world, the nature of the people of your world who struggle so much with disease and poverty and the trappings of an evil civilization. So in regard to Putin, yes, who you were likely communicating to a team that is around you working as your spirit guides. They're known as Glandians. They are a common spirit guide group. And I think that your attempts at automatic writing was a connection to your Glandian female guide, for they come from a very magical world, albeit flawed, but a magical world. And her name is actually like Samantha, but is Samantharis. And this is the guide that is in your life, Giles. And so, or I should say, who was speaking? Ah, yes, this was the guide that you were communicating as to, I should say. Sorry if I was mixing up names there for a moment, but as I was saying, so in that sense, I believe what you were receiving was the correct answer. Putin, as the great shift continues, Putin, who is long engaged in evil and evil occult areas of life, will be finished. Now, I mean, he will be held to justice, not by us, but by those of your world, but with we Arcturans watching, perhaps as humans, for we can come into your world as humans all the time. So those will address all those points. And then I think we had someone else who also wanted to ask something, because if we have maybe 17, 18 more minutes, as you know, my answers tend to be long-winded, but I am an old Arcturan guy who has a lot of rambling, as old men do. So Shayla, I will take it back to you unless you have to say something.
Yeah, I know Rebecca had a question. If you have time, we don't want to impose on your time, and I too have another It's something I have to do, but it's up to you. Can you take Rebecca's question?
I can, yeah, I can for sure.
Okay, thank you. My question is, and I'm not sure I'm understanding this correctly, when you say you channel people, do you always do it through this other channeling? Because like if somebody here has a family member or loved one that's crossed over, can't you just communicate with that person on the other side without all of this other? Am I missing something here?
Okay, this
mean,
is Cyrus talking. I think you might be missing like a greater point, which is that, like I was saying at the beginning, I can communicate to Kilamaja guide, so there's nothing stopping me from communicating like this. I'm seeing Giles. Did Cyrus say the name of my people? Kilamaja said like Sementaris, I think. But as I was saying, yes. So the point is, I can use this technique because I literally have Kilamaja. His presence is around me, and these are his thoughts, his words, not mine. If I want to communicate to my deceased father, I can communicate to him, speak as him. My mother, I can speak as him. My deceased brother, I can speak as him the same way. So there's not like.
But do you can you talk to other like people that have lost somebody in this group? Can you just talk to their loved one that's on the other side? I mean, I'm just like making it simple. I mean, am I missing something here? I'm sorry.
No, you're not missing. It's that it is the nature of channelers. We can communicate like that, but it's not always going to be as accurate if it's someone else's loved one as perhaps someone will demand, right? Because when we are communicating, first of all, there's a major proclivity toward those within our own, those we have a connection to that we can make contact with. So the easiest thing is usually for other people to learn this technique to talk to their loved ones themselves, because it's easier than someone trying to channel someone else's loved one. There's a lot of stumbling blocks involved with that. But it can happen, especially if I spend time developing that relationship and learning to be able to connect my thoughts with that person. So it can happen. Mediums do that. And because I have this ability, it's the same ability that a medium has. So I can work as a medium and try to bring information from loved ones as well. But always the strongest technique is for people to learn this themselves. Does that answer your question?
Kind of, sort of, maybe. Okay.
Maybe you're talking about different things. Channeling, like what Cyrus is doing today is different from your mediumship. So
Okay,
it's apples and oranges, I think.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but that's what I think.
Okay, I was just trying to get it straight in my mind.
Yeah.
But thank you.
It's kind of like oranges and lemons. I mean, there's a real similarity, and it can cross. You know,
Cyrus, we got somebody called Gary Langley, who is a very excellent person, and he's either saying goodbye or he's got an important question.
I want to hear it.
So Cyrus, observing your I would call it more like a blending, correct? Because you're still conscious, you're not in deep trance, so you're sort of blending with their consciousness and sort of stepping back a step and they take over. But you're still
accurate.
Yeah. I was just going to say you're still conscious of what's being said, correct, when they're talking.
Correct. So I'm still conscious, and yet I'm also like everything I'm saying is actually them speaking. So it's almost like there's a part of my consciousness is like up here someplace while it's all them talking in this part. And I can switch it back and forth like that.
So essentially a conscious channel.
I would say conscious, but at the same time not, because it's like they are operating my vocal cords, they're operating all of that. The part of me that's conscious is, like I said, it's like a partition up here. So I can like as an observer see that they're talking as me. And I can step in, I can control it and cut it off, but I'm not, it's not me talking. See what I mean? It's like you can think of it like my mouth's moving on its own.
Yeah, but as opposed to a deep trance where the channeler doesn't know what took place.
Yeah, exactly. I think I would say someone in a deep trance, they're like they're walking around as the full embodiment of, like, I could actually do that. I could actually walk around as Kilamaja and then just completely blank my mind out. And then suddenly I'm living my life as Kilamaja. But I wouldn't want to do that because that's very, very strange. But in effect, I can do that as well.
But I think like Maurice Barbanel, when he channeled Silver Birch, was a deep trance at that point. And so I was just differentiating between a conscious channel, which seemed to be what you were doing, which is neither better or worse than. I was just making an observation. So, but thank you. Good
That's
description.
cool. I know Silver Birch very well, Maurice Barbanel very well. But thank you. Cool. All right, Shayla. Well, I know you want to, I don't know if you want to wrap things up, because I could still be at another 10 minutes. I want to take more,
No, yeah, I've got something that I've got to go do, and we really, really appreciate you coming and visiting and sharing all that with us, which is, it's something that we've never heard before from a guest here. So I thank you and thank your communicator. And you're invited to come back anytime you like.
Sure, I'm happy to come back. And I have a brand new YouTube channel that's called Great Cosmic Shift with Cyrus. Cyrus Kirkpatrick. I just launched that a few hours ago.
Can you put it in the chat?
Sure. So let me put that down.
And however you want people to contact you.
Cosmic Shift with Cyrus Kirkpatrick. So I'm going to have on that YouTube channel me channeling as different beings and lots of cosmic information, as well as my email is Cosmic Shift Awakening @gmail.com. Okay, and then I still have Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics. That's my big YouTube channel, but I've moonlit that. No, I've set the sun on that. I've sunsetted it. I guess that's the correct term, because my account was hacked, so I can't access my old YouTube. But I have a new YouTube, so if you want to hear what I have to say. And I'll have a new book coming out called Understanding Extraterrestrials, and so that book will come out maybe in a month. So that's something to think about. I'm going to have an alphabetized list of every single cosmic group out there and their history and how they affect our planet. So that's going to be a fun book. So I guess that's it. So thank you.
That's going to be a very long list.
And for those,
it's going to be only ones that affect our planet. Otherwise, the book would be the size of the planet.
Yeah, it'd be the size of the galaxy. Yeah, because right.
And for those who don't know, Gary Langley hosts a spiritual book club.
Afterlife Book Club.
Afterlife Book Club. I guess there's a differentiation.
The name.
Well, I wasn't, okay, never mind. I was just being descriptive. So maybe, do you have your contact information in the chat too, in case anyone wants to find out about attending?
I put my email in there, and anybody, I did get an email from, where'd she go?
You put it in too early, it's gone.
Put it in again. I'm going to stop the recording.